Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. It is time. Heading into week 3, the Rock Boy locks. Now, we got to recap what happened in week 2. Solid weekend from the boys. And look, it's pizza money. It's Little Caesar pizza money still. We're hoping to upgrade the pizza money going into week 3. Dill, at this point, I feel like I'm just treading water, like fighting for my life out here. A couple of picks that I really liked, right? Oregon covering 28.5, never a doubt. USC covering 28.5, never a doubt. Kansas, Missouri over, never a doubt. Florida was a dead dog, just did not want to play that afternoon. I kind of figured Billy Napier would be a little bit more ready to play USF after they beat Boise State in a week 1. I think that LSU look ahead, that's just a bad spot, and especially betting Billy Napier to cover 17.5 points. I'll just put my hand up. I'll wear that one. Ole Miss 9.5. Disgusting backdoor beat. Outside of that, feel good about the week. Dill, 2-3 record against the spread. Made it back with the money line dogs. How you recapping this week?
You should just stay away from these spreads and take the money lines. But
dogs.
It comes down to Virginia Tech. I don't know. Brent Pry getting up there and saying his guys got tired actually made me want to throw up because they were kind of winning. I thought I was looking good there. Syracuse was lucky. Rutgers was a pretty good pick. A&M's bad. That defense isn't playing well enough right now to cover that type of line. And again, I don't know that it's a permanently broken defense like it was last year, but that's certainly a unit that has to play better if I'm going to cover that type of spread. Didn't help that Marcel Reed went down with an injury, but it was more about the defense, I'd say. And then kind of saw State. You said it. Cignetti, when he gets a chance to bully you, he's going to bully you. We were in it for a little while, but when Cignetti got his chance to step on the throat, he did it.
He loves running it up when he can run it up. And Dill, moneyline dogs, I was dead from the start with Michigan at plus 155. We're just never betting Iowa because I just refuse to watch another Iowa Hawkeye football game. Put me to sleep right as my Saturday was starting. Dill, Mississippi State plus 190 at a boy, and then Baylor plus 106 at a boy. The fellas might just have to start dog hunting. All right, Dill, let's turn the page, you might say. Get into our week 3 picks. Before we do, and as always, to many of y'all, we are not expert gamblers by any means, but it's been a blast for us to get up here and talk about our week cards. It's been a blast to hear from you guys in the comment section. And Dill, we've gotten some winners, and I would encourage everybody listening, please, the boys need some winners in the comment section. Let it fly. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into our week 3 picks. And Dill, I'm going to give you the tee box here. Your favorite pick of the week 3 slate. What you got for us?
Yeah, I think this is one we both agree on. I think it's Alabama. I think you look at this Wisconsin team, they should be treated like a mid-tier G5. They are not good. They might have a backup quarterback in this game. And I think Kalen DeBoer, I don't know that I'm going to trust him in games where teams have some talent on the field around him because I kind of wonder if what this team's mettle is maybe. But this is a team, when they have the talent edge, they're going to score. They're going to run it up a little bit. I think they're going to be explosive enough to really put it up on Wisconsin. And I just don't think Wisconsin can score on anyone. I don't really care who it is. If you're a good Power 5 team, Wisconsin's not scoring on you.
I would agree, especially if they have a backup quarterback. They might have a backup center too, and they're going on the road to Tuscaloosa. It's hard to see them scoring a lot of points. And like you said, I think Alabama is still working on getting off that week 1 loss stench. And so, again, if Kalen DeBoer has the opportunity to score some points and get the people out of their seats and get back into the good graces and cover this line, I think he's going to do it. And Dill, once again, it's one of those situations when they want to go to the 2s and 3s, like they got some talent that they're going to be trotting out there in the fourth quarter. Let's go to another one we agree on. And we should put a disclaimer: when the boys agree on this many picks, it is often bad news.
Not these two. These two are a lot. I love these two because I know where we're going, and it's Oregon to cover 28.5. That is not a good Northwestern team, and this team in Oregon right now is humming. When Oregon's been humming under Dan Lanning, they score so much. They're not going to give up a ton of points because this defensive line is going to be a problem, I think, for this
Yeah.
Northwestern team. I think this is an easy cover because Dan Lanning's got this team humming, and when he is, he steps on people.
My only concern, and it's not a huge one, is that when this team went on the road last year, sometimes you got some sloppy performances. There has been nothing to show me that Oregon's going to play sloppy football. They've in fact played about the cleanest football that you've seen in the country. And Dill, Preston Stone going to give you some points here. I mean, like, he is just throwing the ball up for grabs at points. And Oregon's got some defensive backs that can go make some plays. You combine that Oregon should not be punting very much, if at all, in this game, and that Northwestern's probably going to give you some turnovers. System play, man. Here's another system play, USC minus 21. USC is dang near averaging 700 yards of total offense. This offense right now is a juggernaut. Now, Dill, the slight concern that I have is that Jaden hasn't really been tested by defensive lines. I'm not saying Purdue's a great defensive line, but they're not a bad defensive line. So what does Jaden look like when there's a little bit more heat in his face, so to speak? That's certainly a question. This team's ability to score quick and score fast and hit game-changing plays, it's been very, very clear. And the ability to run the football, which makes me feel better about taking this team on the road against Purdue.
And my thing will always be, are they going to be good enough and not allowing explosive plays? Like, explosive plays are deadly. I figured out that the hard way with Texas A&M. They gave up too many explosives to that Utah State team.
Sure.
I do kind of question, like, USC is giving up some plays. They're playing really aggressive on defense, which I don't mind. That's how they should be playing. But they are giving up some explosives early on in this year, and that's not a huge spread. I'll give you that. Like, 21's not a crazy spread, but it is hard to cover those big spreads given them explosives.
I in my pushback, and the reason why I'm overlooking it a little bit is that I got so much confidence in this USC defensive coaching staff. I think the world of, specifically defensive coordinator Dan Lynn. I would be stunned if there's some sloppy run fit. I would be stunned if there's another blown coverage. They've blown a coverage against Missouri State. They blew a coverage against, now I'm blanking on who they played last, Georgia Southern. I would be stunned if those mental lapses exist third week in a row against Purdue. And I'm not sure if Purdue has the guys to really capitalize either. I'll give you one I like too. Sorry, I'm going. You know what? I give you the T-box again. Next favorite pick you want to talk about here.
Give me Duke. I think this Duke 1.5. They're dogs for this Tulane team. I could probably throw them on as my money line dog. I don't know that I'm going to keep doing that. We counted Baylor as a money line dog at like plus 106. That feels like a little bit generous. So just give me them to win this game plus 1.5. Kind of the same thing, frankly. I just look, Darian Mentz is like awesome. Like, I thought, like, oh, that number everyone's floating out there, he got paid. Like, I was like, well, that's a little high, isn't it? He kind of played like he deserves that kind of money. I'm a little scared because these wideouts, I think, are pretty mediocre and weren't making a ton of plays for him. They played a really sloppy game against Illinois. They probably win that game pretty easily if they play reasonably clean. I think Tulane it's just a tough team because they lose all their good players. It's just what's going to happen until John Summerall leaves and takes a big job, where I think he'll do quite well, frankly. But at Tulane, they just get gutted a little bit. Give me Duke.
I will bet on Darian Mensah every single time from what I saw week 2. Kid was freaking awesome. Dots left and right. And if they don't fumble the football every time the wide receivers catch you, you should be cashing this bet. All right, my sucker bet of the week, Clemson minus 2.5. This is the definition of me dying on my sword, right? Clemson was a top 2 team for me in the country going into 2025. Sloppy against LSU, they lost. Sloppy against Troy, but played well in the fourth quarter, ended up winning that game. I would be stunned if you see another sloppy performance week 3 against Georgia Tech. And Dill, on top of that, this is a must-win game. You drop this game, you go to 1-2. Not only will the Clemson fans be getting a little riled up about Dabo and his future again, but more importantly, you really hurt your chances at a college football playoff berth. And so, Dill, I feel like this Clemson team's going to figure it out. I know they can be one of the best teams in the country. Give me Clemson minus 2.5 on the road against Georgia Tech.
Now, the fact that this game is screaming Clemson to me, because the one thing that scares me about Clemson is when they play good defensive lines,
They
they've shown that
struggle.
they just
I
can't
don't know
beat
if
those
Georgia
teams.
Tech is that.
Exactly. Like Georgia Tech's defensive line is pretty
Yeah.
mediocre in my eyes. I don't know, is Tom Allen going to give that, like, just let this team run the ball on them to
I don't
death?
think
I
so.
don't see that. That's like
And here's the thing, Dill, is like what made Georgia, sorry to cut you off, but what made Georgia Tech so dangerous last year was they had a guy like Eric Singleton. If you wanted to sell out, stop the run, Eric Singleton could beat you. I still like Haynes King. I just don't. Do they have that same
I don't
level of
love the
fire?
weapons on the outside like I did last year.
Like the but, and this is not like I like Georgia Tech. The buzz out of Georgia Tech was like Eric Rivers, the transfer from FIU, was going to be that guy. He's not Eric Singleton, at least the way I look at it. So give me Clemson 2.5.
Yeah,
Dill, I'll
and
put
again, the fact that it's screaming Clemson to me and it feels so obvious is why I'm going to stay away, because you've said
yeah.
it. I mean,
No.
this is all-time trap. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's looking at this like, oh, Clemson
Dude,
easy.
I'm getting my head cut off, and there's ain't no doubt about it. But I think I have to live and die with that, and so there I am. Clemson 2.5 will certainly be a play I'm making Saturday. All right, you're back on the tee box. You want to go to one that we both agree? Arkansas plus 7.5. All right, I'll give you the tee box, and I'll come
This
in
feels
next.
dangerous. This feels like both of us agreeing on one. We watched Ole Miss not play a particularly great game against Kentucky. I don't think that was an enigma like it was last year. This Ole Miss team, defensive line doesn't really do much in terms of disrupting games like they did last year. That's what made Ole Miss a problem. They're
Yeah.
pretty. I mean, they're a decent SEC unit. Is that probably fair
Yes,
to say? Like, they're
I
not
think so.
horrible, but they don't have difference makers. And the real issue is they have no explosiveness on offense. Like, the running back play, I am not impressed with. That's probably where it starts. And they're not hitting a ton of big plays in the pass. And Simmons isn't a wildly consistent quarterback. That all sets up to not be a great recipe to go cover that type of spread.
They gave up 172 yards rushing to Kentucky. Right, pretty one-dimensional offense. Like Zach Calzada ain't scaring you. Dill, this Arkansas team can run the piss out of the ball, man. Like it's Taylor Green. It's obviously Braylon Russell. It's the transfer they landed from Dill. Mike Washington, transfer running back from Arkansas, right down the road from Syracuse, New York. I think they can go on the road and run the football, which is a key piece of getting a road win in the SEC. Now, the second part of this is last year, Ole Miss, I think Jackson Dart threw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns against a disaster Arkansas secondary. I'm not sure if Arkansas secondary is like that much improved, but I will say this. I don't know if Ole Miss has that firepower to really capitalize.
There's
And
a
Dill,
big step down. That was one thing that we are going to be looking for. Like, is Simmons going to be close to what Jackson Dart is? I don't get that sense at all. Jackson Dart,
I didn't either, man. I didn't either. And that was kind of I was never high on Ole Miss because I just didn't think that defense was going to be as dominant as they were last year. I think that's going to be true. People were saying Austin Simmons like 1-for-1 with Jackson Dart. That is not what my eyeballs told me on the road against Kentucky. And so until he shows me he is that 1-for-1 guy, I wouldn't even be opposed to sprinkling a little bit. I got it outside of a touchdown, so I'm good with it. But like I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas goes down the road and gets this one done. All right, now to one that the boys disagree with. I was too soft to put it on my card. Georgia covering 3.5 points on the road in Knoxville, Tennessee. If I had a lean, I'd be taking Tennessee. You feel very good about Georgia, so I'll give you the T box. I'll give you my rebuttal.
my huge concern is the injuries on the inside of the defensive line. Like, there's just not enough girth there. Like, they don't have big bodies. Jackson Moy, I mean, he's questionable. I think he's going to play, but if he doesn't play, then I don't really see how they keep in this. You're just too small. Like, Bryce Neeson's a good player as a defensive tackle. He's just smaller. It's like everyone's small on this Tennessee defensive line. I just think that's not a good recipe against a Georgia team that, albeit hasn't quite established that like dominant physicality up front. But I think they're kind of still shuffling a little bit their offensive line. If they get that group back healthy and they get their best 5 on the field, I think they'll be a problem.
All right, so I was too soft to take Tennessee here because of the injuries. And it's not only the injuries, on the defensive line. Like you're down your 2 starting cornerbacks too. Although I think those 2 can play, Colton Hood and Ty Redmond. They're some
Well, the secondaries aren't my problem because like Georgia also not really throwing the ball a ton down the field.
So here are my concerns about Georgia. And I could look really stupid with it. Like, don't cut the next 30 seconds here, but this is how I see Georgia right now. I see an offensive line in a run game that I still am not sure is figured out. Like, they couldn't run the football late in 2024. I'm not sure if they can run the football against, like, Dill, I know Tennessee's banged up, but they still got some dudes on the defensive line and at the linebacker
The
position. So
linebacker is really good for Tennessee. I'll give you that.
I struggle to see Georgia just running all over Tennessee here. That was one of the key things when you think about the Georgia buzzsaws that would just go anywhere and beat teams. They could run the football on anybody. It's not the vibe I've gotten from Georgia so far in 2025, and it was not the vibe we got from them in 2024. They are treating Gunnar Stockton like they don't trust him at quarterback. Like, his average depth to target is 5.1 yards down the field, Dill. He's completed one pass that has traveled 20 plus yards down the field. And then on defense, the defense has been very, very clean. I think the defense will be a solid unit. Who's the guy? And I know you love Chris Cole, but he hasn't necessarily shown it against this quality of competition. They've always had the guys, a Jalen Walker, a Michael Williams, a Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. Trevon Walker, I probably shouldn't have gotten down that rabbit hole of just listing everybody that came to my mind. Regardless of that point, who's that guy that's going top 10 in the NFL draft? Who's that guy that's going in the first round of the NFL draft on that defensive line?
Kristen Miller is going first round.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, so Christian Miller, and he's played solid football. I'm not trying to get at him. That Georgia defensive line does not scare me the way it has scared me in the past. And so I take all that to account, and then we got to cover points on the road against Tennessee, and they're going to be fired up for this one.
Actually, you're saying covering points. I mean, it's not like they're covering 7 points. This is like really pretty tight. This is close to a pick 'em. Not quite, but it's close.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. And we'll see. I mean, I don't make a habit of doubting Kirby Smart because that's a damn good way to lose your money. This team over the last 8-game sample size has not shown me they're the Georgia team that we're used to seeing over the last couple of years. All right, I get one off my chest that Miami minus 17.5. Like, God, I did the same. It's copy and paste. I took Florida 17.5 at home. They outright lost. Number one, I think a large part of why Florida lost that game is they were not ready. Like, the crowd, it was a sleepy afternoon in Gainesville. You could tell they did not spend enough time prepping for this USF team. Here's the other thing. Billy Napier, as the play caller, got bored of just running the football for 5-6 yards of carry. This is what they did the first 2 drives. They went down the field, settled for field goals, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're just going to start running some end arounds and trick plays. Why? Right? You got bored of it. No, who's not going to get bored of just running for 5-6 yards per carry? Mario Cristobal. In fact, he wouldn't want to have it any other way, Dale. And then you look at USF on offense and say, they can throw some wrinkles, but there's also they run with a lot of pace. And if you get a couple of 3-and-outs and Miami starts stringing together those 12-play, 8-minute drives where they're keeping that USF front on the field, I could see this second half kind of snowballing. And again, Miami, Mario Cristobal, recruiting the state of Florida. When he gets a chance to send a message to the kids in state, he going to do it. And I think he's going to have the opportunity to do it. Give me Miami covering 17.5 points. I think this team freaking rocks still. This offensive line's awesome. Carson Beck's playing great football, deep running back room, and they'll a defense that, look, it's early. It's a small sample size, but I think they fixed most of the problems that they had. I would not be taking this game. Sorry, I'm talking long. Would not be taking this game with that Miami defense last year because Alex Golesh would have those defensive minds in a blender. Corey Heatherman simplifying this defense. Hey, communication fundamentals. I'd be stunned if USF can go up and down this field here.
And I'm not going to fight you on this one. I think you're right. Like, I look at how physical Florida can be on both sides of the ball and where I think USF probably will have their problems. Like, yeah, stopping the run. I mean, if Miami wants to run up and down, just like Florida was doing, as you said, I think they'll be able to do it. And I think the big thing is like,
And
I don't know that Miami is going to lay that tape of egg. That's at the end of the day what happened
No,
with Florida.
I
Florida
agree.
dominated that football game. It wasn't particularly close. They just were so sloppy. I mean, Miami, we've seen them play sloppy for sure, but I don't see it right now.
What
This team,
Florida had did Florida have 3 touchdowns called back or 2? It was one. It was definitely more than one, right? And you're right. I mean, with USF going on the road and beating Florida, your antennas are up. I would be stunned if Miami's not ready to play this football game. All right, Dill, you got a couple of more. You got Texas A&M plus. We can do that together because I got Texas A&M as my money line dog. I'll give you the T-box. I just feel like I talked for 5 minutes. So, hey, what you got for us?
I think it really starts with this A&M offense. Last year, they had not even remotely figured it out. It was really bad. They had the quarterback issue with Wigman. I mean, he just wasn't the fit, I wouldn't say, for what Colin Klein wants to do. I look at the receivers now that they have. This is an offense that's now built to run what Colin Klein wants to run. And I think they can probably get after the slot corner a little bit for Notre Dame that had a lot of trouble dealing with Malachi Toney, because you do have a really versatile group in that wide receiver room. So to me, I think A&M's got some matchups. And the other part is I don't love Notre Dame's tackles. Notre Dame's tackles were getting walked by that Miami team. And Cassius Howell, he might be one of the more underrated players in college football. He's a first round pick. He's a monster.
All right, I'm gonna throw out. You know how I get in my brain. I've recited these stats in front of the mirror, and I'm gonna do my best right now, real quick. Dill, in last year's game, Notre Dame on the road in College Station, Texas A&M had 0 plays of 20+ yards. They just didn't have dudes, man. They just didn't have guys that could create explosive plays. This year, going into this matchup, Texas A&M, 16 plays of 20+ yards through 2 weeks, top 5 in the country. Do I think Marcel Reed can be super consistent and work the ball up and down the field? I don't know. Do I think they have dudes on the outside that can create game-changing plays in ways they could not last year? Yeah, absolutely. To the Cassius Howell versus these Notre Dame tackle situation. My only worry, Dill, can we tackle Jeremiah Love consistently? Because this has been a problem for Texas A&M. And I do feel like with Jeremiah Love only getting 10 carries in that Miami game, and I know the Notre Dame fans are pissed, and I'm sure Mike Denbrock and Marcus Freeman are looking at that call sheet and say, how the hell did we allow that to happen? Just the game got away from you a little bit. You're going to see a steady diet of Jeremiah Love, and they're going to say, hey, can you go tackle him 20+ times a game?
And that's what's scary, because A&M is giving up a lot of chunk runs.
And they're missing tackles.
The problem with giving up chunk runs to Notre Dame is the running back room, their house calls. And that's going to be the issue to me. I just looked at that feels like correctable. And Mike Elko's been saying it's correctable. So maybe I'm listening too much, just like maybe last year I thought the lack of secondary coverability was correctable, and it clearly was not. Maybe I'll die on that hill, but I look like they're in positions to make plays at times. They're just not tackling particularly well.
And
I think it's a lot more about the offense, to be very frank. I think this A&M offense is really
legit, man. It is legit. Here's one more thing. Riley Leonard was such a big part of getting out of trouble and extending plays and making things work when it wasn't perfect. I think CJ Carr is a really good quarterback, but I think he's a quarterback that you kind of need it to be a little bit perfect. Is it going to be perfect? Is he the guy that can make it happen when things aren't great? That's a question I have too. I thought I was impressed with him against Miami. Want to see him do it again. All right, here's another one. New Mexico. You're going to take the points. I'm going to take the money line.
It's just too big, and I'm with you. Nico and that UCLA team, woof, really, really bad. Yeah. New Mexico was kind of salty against Michigan. Now you could wonder what is Michigan exactly, but that's a team that they're just creative enough on offense where I feel like maybe they'll score a little bit. And UCLA, I'm just not convinced can score a ton.
They gotta. Well, here's the fundamental reason for the pick. For my pick, New Mexico going on the road and winning this game. We knew, and I'll be taking 15.5, but if I'm taking a dog, I'm taking New Mexico. We knew that Deshaun Foster was taking a risk going on and getting Nico post-spring. If it didn't work early, could this thing snowball? Dude, I think we're seeing a snowball. right? And this is a program that's giving me vibes of like a dead man walking. And then this is a New Mexico team that, Dill, like you said, Jason Ecka, head coach, he's going to play to win this football game. Like, you're going to see some interesting play calls. You're going to see him get aggressive, maybe on special teams as well. They got a gamer at quarterback, a nice running back, a tight end that's going to find himself at a Power 4 program in the 2026 season. I will take New Mexico to go on the road and win this football game.
Yeah, I just think, like, keep it a little simpler. Like, that's a big spread. I think this will be a game. I think you're walking a tightrope if this New Mexico team's got the talent to go win it.
Here's the thing, though, Dill. If it's close, if you find yourself in a close game in the third quarter, like, how hard is UCLA going to be playing in an empty stadium? I don't know. It's late night game, too. I think it's 10 Eastern time Friday night.
Oof, don't like that.
Florida is your dog. Well, I got one more spread. Minnesota -2.5. Going on the road, better line of scrimmage play, the ability to run the football. PJ Fleck versus a true freshman quarterback. Minnesota figures out how to win these football games. These are not games that Minnesota will lose when they play Michigan or Ohio State or Oregon. They don't lose to Cal, whether it's in Cal, whether it's in Minnesota, whether it's on the moon. A little bit of a system play there for PJ Fleck and the boys up there in Minnesota.
I found myself saying this last year against North Carolina. Bit me. I had the same logic as you did. Now, rainy, wet day. I know whatever I had didn't cover, and that made me sick.
I remember you. I do remember that. That was week 1. Yeah. All right. Okay. Florida +230. Your money line dog pick of the week. What you got?
It's back against the wall, Billy. That's where you want him. You don't want him. You don't want him feeling good about himself. When he feels good about himself, you get that USF performance where you make mistakes. This guy, he's got a really good team. Can he maximize it? Well, we've already figured out that's clearly not the case. But when he gets in these sort of big games, and he's coaching for his job, he's been really good. And I think they can be a bit of a problem up front for this LSU offensive line, I should say. They're athletic enough, deep enough in the back end to not just get steamrolled by a really good passing attack that is LSU. I think this is a good Florida team. I think they can compete. And when Billy's got his back against the wall, I like +230.
This is where you go. Like, if you're gonna bet on Florida, don't even bother taking the points, because if they lose this game, they're probably going to lose
by 80 points.
Yeah, but if they win this, if it's close, Florida going to have a chance to win this game. I like it. Back against the wall, Billy. That's when we saw them play their best football last year. All right, we'll close it out there. Hey, the boys sprayed the board this week. Fired up. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.